The story centers around a boy named Dongsoo who possesses exceptional abilities. He was moving to the bus station while singing the song he had composed. Meanwhile, a few people come and take him. They actually kidnap people and sell their organs. They take Dongsoo to a doctor and the surgeon removes all organs from his body. Dongsoo was almost dead, but the strange thing was he was watching the doctor as he did all this. The doctor took his eyes out and put them on a tray, then went to talk on the phone. However, strange tentacles emerged from Dongsoo's body and his body started repairing itself. The doctor, upon noticing Dongsoo, got scared as he was putting his eyes back. While searching for his other eye, the doctor called the goons, but Dongsoo managed to escape. After a few days, an incident occurred. Someone placed a statue of a lovely lady in the middle of the road. Everyone was watching it because of its beauty, but as they took pictures, the statue began to bleed. It was then discovered that it wasn't a statue but a human turned into a statue. This news spread rapidly and the police arrived at the scene. The inspector investigated for a long time and found two symbols, P and N. Dongsoo is depicted wearing a bandage over his eye, living a desolate life. Suddenly, his eye begins to ache one night while he's practicing his own song. He notices the same symbol that was on the statue's body where his missing eye should be. As he delves deeper, he discovers that a man possesses Dongsoo's eye, allowing him to witness everything the man does. While working at his job in a junkyard, Dongsoo encounters a situation where a few people are assaulting his friend. He intervenes, but in the scuffle, he is overpowered. One of the assailants draws a knife with the intent to harm Dongsoo, but he fights back. In the chaos, poor Dongsoo's ear is cut off and falls to the ground. Witnessing this, the assailants flee, startled by Dongsoo's unusual ability to reattach his severed ear using his strange powers. Meanwhile, a gang specializing in selling body organs is also on the lookout for Dongsoo after discovering that his body and organs possess extraordinary regenerative abilities. Such a body type fetches an exorbitant price of $1 million or even $1 billion on the market. After the altercation, Dongsoo returns home where he was practicing his song but struggles with the correct lyrics. He listens to it again and resumes practicing. Simultaneously, he envisions the man who possesses his eye, listening to his song. However, Dongsoo's eye starts aching again, prompting him to decide to revisit the place where he was taken in hopes of retrieving his eye. As Dongsoo attempts to evade the people pursuing him, they recognize him and give chase. While fleeing, a girl named Bleed intervenes and rescues him. She identifies him as Dongsoo and cuts his leg with her knife, observing as the wound heals swiftly. Dongsoo manages to escape from a leak and flees the scene. Later, a book appears in Dongsoo's vision detailing instructions on how to end people and transform them into statues. It becomes evident that the man with Dongsoo's eye is responsible for these acts, turning victims into statues scattered throughout the city. Meanwhile, a girl on her way to the office listens to Dongsoo's viral song. She encounters another recently murdered statue in the city and informs her friend, Mr. Jean. Despite Mr. Jin's questionable habits, she holds affection for him. Singing Dongsoo's song in front of Mr. Jean, she notices his eyes start to ache. Simultaneously, Dongsoo experiences eye discomfort, revealing that the man possessing Dongsoo's eye is none other than Mr. Jean. He's responsible for the string of people being turned into statues in the city. It becomes apparent that Dongsoo's eyes have a connection to the song, causing discomfort whenever it's played due to the eye's link to Mr. Jean. This leads to a crucial discovery when one day, a term flashes in Mr. Jin's vision. Searching the term online confirms that the individual responsible for the city's string of statue murders is indeed Mr. Jean. The following day, Dongsoo seeks out Mr. Jin's friend, recognizing her from a dream. He inquires about the man she was with the previous evening but encounters her reluctance to divulge any information. Her discomfort leads her to leave abruptly, interpreting Dongsoo's approach as flirtatious. Dongsoo remains clueless about the killer's appearance and lacks crucial details. To gain insight, he visits an astrologer, sharing the symbols he's seen and the dates of the murders. The astrologer discerns a connection between these elements and forewarns that the upcoming date bears resemblance to the pattern. Dongsoo comprehends that a murder is likely to occur the next day but remains unsure about the specifics. Simultaneously, the girl who harbors affections for Mr. Jean and is also his friend relocates to his residence. While exploring, she stumbles upon a book detailing the method used to create the statues from the deceased. The girl unravels the truth behind the murders, uncovering Mr. Jean as the culprit. The following day, a new statue appears in the city, attracting a crowd. Among the spectators are the gang pursuing Dongsoo, who spot him and attempt to capture him. Just as they're on the verge of harming him, League arrives once more, rescuing Dongsoo. She discloses her identity as a novelist working on a book titled Connect, or exploring the lives of superhumans with regenerative abilities similar to Dongsoo's. Grateful for her intervention, Dongsoo expresses his gratitude and obtains her contact information before departing. Meanwhile, Mr. Jin's friend, distressed after uncovering the truth, expresses her concerns. He leads her to the rooftop where she confesses her knowledge of his involvement in the statue murders and the identities of the victims. While she speaks, the man she is confiding in, unfortunately, receives a phone call, drawing Mr. Jin's attention to their conversation. After capturing Dongsoo, Mr. Jin subjects him to brutal violence and eventually pushes him off the roof, leaving Mr. Jin's friend in shock. As she reels from the sight, her phone, playing Dongsoo's song, triggers pain in both Dongsoo and Mr. Jin's eyes, leading to a shared vision. In this vision, Dongsoo witnesses Mr. Jin committing 2 brutal murders. Prompted by the vision, Dongsoo heads to Mr. Jin's office, causing chaos upon revealing the details of the murders. The police arrive at the scene, but amidst the commotion, Dongsoo notices Jin's distinctive coat and decides to pursue him. Inside the office washroom, Dongsoo attempts to apprehend Mr. Jin without seeing his face. However, before Dongsoo can unveil the truth, the police arrest him, suspecting his involvement in the murders. Despite Dongsoo's protests, no one believes his claims. Once again, Lee intervenes, rescuing Dongsoo from the dire situation. In his office, Mr. Jin grapples with worry, realizing that besides himself and Dongsoo, there had been no one else on the roof during the incident. As he experiences discomfort while listening to Dongsoo's song, a revelation strikes him. His transplanted eye is the source of all his troubles. This eye serves as a means for someone else, the possessor of the other eye, to witness everything Mr. Jin does. On a different day, Dongsoo takes Lee to his home and confides in her, recounting his life from childhood. He reveals how he suffered an injury falling from a tree only for his leg to miraculously heal, leading his friends to label him a monster. His family eventually abandoned him. He recounts the night he was kidnapped by a group who extracted his eye, now in possession of Mr. Jin, the person responsible for the city's string of crimes. Expressing his desire for Mr. Jin to face justice but lacking information about him, Dongsoo divulges everything to Lee. Her response surprises him, offering unwavering support and gifting him with glasses, assuring him that no one will mock him anymore. As Dongsoo tries to remain incognito, avoiding recognition by people in the market, his anonymity is compromised by posters depicting him. The police intensify their search and suddenly, his eye begins to ache. He witnesses a vision of Mr. Jin warning him while creating his picture, threatening consequences if he interferes. In a startling revelation, Dongsoo realizes that the person whose eye was transplanted into him is none other than himself. Additionally, he foresees another impending murder. That night, while searching for Mr. Jin, Dongsoo encounters a man singing his song. The discomfort in his eye alerts him to the presence of Mr. Jin nearby. Pursuing him, Dongsoo attempts to capture Mr. Jin, but is intercepted by the arriving police, resulting in his arrest and a dire situation. Despite his efforts to explain that he's not a murderer and possesses knowledge of the true culprit, Dongsoo faces severe mistreatment in jail. Desperate to convey the truth, he pleads with the inspector, who eventually takes him to the roof. There, Dongsoo divulges everything, revealing that Mr. Jin possesses his eye and is behind all the murders. Showing the inspector his hand, Dongsoo deliberately breaks it, only to witness it heal instantly. Astonished, the inspector watches as Dongsoo demonstrates his regenerative ability. Driven by this newfound confidence, Dongsoo leaps from the roof in pursuit of Mr. Jin, knowing any injury he sustains will heal. Meanwhile, Mr. Jin visits the surgeon who performed the eye transplant, revealing a flashback where he initially approached the doctor, seeking an eye. The doctor, experimenting, transplanted Dongsoo's eye into Mr. Jin. However, when the doctor learns the truth, Mr. Jin ends him. The gang investigating the doctor's death discovers Mr. Jin's involvement, while Lee and Dongsoo were on their own search for the doctor. Lee identifies and eliminates a man sent by the organ-selling gang who was tracking Dongsoo. Amidst this, Dongsoo finds joy as his song is set for release by his favorite singer. Simultaneously, Mr. Jin dials a number, unaware that Dongsoo can also see the call. In their first direct conversation, Dongsoo questions Mr. Jin's motives for ending people. In response, Mr. Jin reveals that he's a terminally ill cancer patient and believes that if he cannot survive, no one else should either. The police uncover the body handled by Lee and gather evidence against Mr. Jin. During a meeting with Dongsoo, Lee deliberately cuts her neck, showcasing her regenerative ability, and hints that there might be others like them. Meanwhile, Mr. Jing adopts Dongsoo's appearance and kidnaps the singer who contacted Dongsoo, issuing a warning. He challenges Dongsoo to reach him by nightfall or face dire consequences. Caught by the organ-selling gang, Dongsoo is confronted by the situation. In a bold move, Lee intervenes, urging Dongsoo to leave while she confronts the gang. As they witness her wound healing, the gang members are astonished and intrigued by her abilities. Amidst the chaos caused by Lee's abilities, she overpowers those targeting Dongsoo for their organs and flees. Simultaneously, the police gather substantial evidence against Mr. Jin. Both Mr. Jin and Dongsoo converge at a location where the latter was summoned. Aware of Mr. Jin's lack of combat skills and his tendency to induce fear in others before ending them, Dongsoo proceeds cautiously. However, Mr. Jin deploys gas, causing Dongsoo to lose consciousness. Seizing the opportunity, Mr. Jin takes Dongsoo with him. Elsewhere, Lee encounters another individual akin to both her and Dongsoo. This being shares their abilities and is taken along by Lee. Meanwhile, Jin takes Dongsoo to where the kidnapped singer is held captive. Tragically, they discover the lifeless body of the doctor, with Jin intending to transform him into a statue. Witnessing the singer's dire state, Dongsoo expresses remorse. Jin reveals his terminal illness, planning to use Dongsoo's body for a brain transplant, amalgamating Dongsoo's body with his own mind. What a gripping ending to the first season. The possibilities for the next chapter are wide open. Season 2 could explore how the military's involvement impacts Dongsoo and Lee. They might face various challenges: captivity, interrogation, or being coerced into using their unique abilities for military purposes. The military's interest in Connect could lead to experiments, research, or even attempts to control or weaponize their abilities. Dongsoo and Lee might have to navigate a complex web of alliances, conflicts, and personal dilemmas as they try to reclaim their freedom and evade exploitation. Season 2 could also delve deeper into the origins of Connect, or exploring the true extent of these abilities and their potential impact on society. It might uncover more individuals like Dongsoo and Lee, each with their own stories and abilities, leading to a larger narrative of superhuman existence and its implications for the world. The next chapter could involve themes of power, ethics, and the struggle for identity in a world that's suddenly aware of their existence. It's sure to be an intense and captivating continuation of their story.